Let's talk Alabama recruiting because nobody in the country might be hotter right now on the recruiting trail than Alabama. In today's video, I got the great Tim Watts from Bama Online. We're going to break down a few recruits that if they go Alabama's way, the Tide could be making a run at the #1 recruiting class in America. But first, guys, be sure to hit subscribe to the On3 Recruits channel. We love talking Alabama recruiting. We're going to do it all off season long, so go ahead and hit subscribe. All right. Let's bring in my guy, Tim Watts. And Tim, we got picks on the recruiting prediction rolling in favor of the Tide for the #2 running back in America, Kalen Deer, a.k.a. Deer. But the thing is, he's committed to Ole Miss. What are we hearing? What's the buzz in his recruitment as he's coming off an official visit to Alabama?
You know, it's kind of got to be rough for the Ole Miss fans. They had 3 decommitments last night in a couple of hours. Woke up this morning to A.K. Deer. Now, I think Alabama's been trending for A.K. for some time. Even when he committed to Ole Miss, it seemed a little bit out of the blue. We had heard really good things. He'd been over for an unofficial visit. And, look, he's been familiar with that campus and that staff before Kalen DeBoer. You also got to remember Robert Gillespie has built that relationship over a few years. So it's not like he's a new staff member. He's been at Alabama for a while, so obviously that played in. So when he committed, a little bit out of the blue, but he said he was going to take visits. Alabama was one of those, and then right now we just think that they did a good enough job. And coming off the visit, I mean, if you read the quotes and the stories and all of his social media, you knew Alabama was involved. But, you know, now at this stage, I mean, everything's pointing to Alabama landing it.
All right, Alabama fans, keep an eye on that one as we head into the weekend. Now, if Alabama is going to make that march to be a #1 recruiting class in this 25 cycle, they're going to have to land a couple 5-stars. And a big one's coming off the board later this week. I think on Friday, Friday is the date, 5-star California cornerback Dejon Lee is going to make his decision. Tim, Tide are trending here on the recruiting prediction machine, but who is the biggest competition as we're just a couple of days away from his decision?
You know, I think Georgia was mentioned. You know, back in April, there was a lot of Georgia vibes coming. We never felt that way at Bama Online. We always felt that Alabama did a good job. When Kalen DeBoer and Courtney Morgan arrived in Tuscaloosa, that was one of the first names mentioned that was associated with them from California. So we knew that they had a long-standing relationship. He came back several times. Georgia certainly was a team that pushed really hard for him. He had some other schools mentioned. He went to Texas, took a couple of other visits. But Alabama's always kind of been the staple there, the one that we're watching the closely. I think right now we have our prediction on Alabama. Feel pretty good about that. I don't think you could sleep on anybody when it comes to recruiting, but I think Alabama's put themselves in a really good position with him.
Man, it sounds like Alabama's going to stay hot this summer. One more we need to hit on, and that has been also trending to Alabama, is 4-star linebacker Dawson Merritt. Now, he's the #3 player in the state of Kansas, trending to Alabama on the recruiting prediction machine, and he recently told our Chad Simmons that this is going to come down to Bama or Nebraska. So, Tim, is it starting to lean in Alabama's direction?
Yeah, his commitment's been interesting because you look back in April, I'd have bet a decent amount of money he was going to be one of the first commitments in this class. Came to Alabama, was leaning heavily to Alabama. Props to Nebraska. They went all in. Matt Rule was heavily recruiting him. They did a good job pushing there. They got everybody around him. But something sort of kept coming back to Alabama. And we hear that recurring theme of, you know, comes back to Alabama with other recruits. And I think that, you know, it's winding down. He hasn't set an official visit date, official decision date, but we think that, you know, it's coming up. I think he's just ready to do it. It's probably been a tough decision for him. His social media kind of is hinting at some of the stuff that's coming up. But I think Alabama, again, has done a good job. You know, and you look at this, we keep talking about torrid pace, hot summer, all that. Literally in the South, it's literally unbelievably hot. But it's ironic that Alabama's mantra, their theme for this recruiting class was cold summer, and they have been extremely hot at the same time.
All right, Tim, we'll appreciate the update on Alabama recruiting. Alabama fans, talk to me. Can the Tide really make a run at the #1 class in America? You got UGA, you got Ohio State, but Alabama right there as well. Let me know, comment section below. Is this, in Kalen DeBoer's first cycle, a run at the #1 class? Let me know, comment section below. Well, you've made it to the end of today's video, but there's hundreds more videos on the On3 Recruits channel for you to check out. And also, while you're here, hit subscribe.